Welcome to the SPE Podcast, powered by the Society of Petroleum Engineers. You're listening to the August 2024 episode of the SPE President's Podcast with Terry Palisch, creating our energy future. And now your moderator, Austin Palisch.
Hello, I'm Austin Palisch, Staff Engineer at Liberty Energy, and I'm pleased to join 2024 SPE President and my dad, Terry Palisch, on his monthly podcast episode. Since this is the last episode of your presidency, I think maybe we can review the year so far, your theme of creating our energy future, and talk about the future of SPE. I just want to say it's a true honor to be on this podcast today, so thank you for inviting me to join you, Dad.
Well, Austin, thank you. I know you're super busy. I know you have a lot of things going on with your job and things, but I am excited that you were able we were able to make this work. As you said, I started my term with the theme of creating our energy future, and I've pretty much used this as a basis for my talks and my presentations over the past year, particularly as I've traveled across the world, meeting both professional and student members, and as well as those who I consider our external stakeholders. And to me, I think that in addition to our students, a huge part of this future and our future lies with the next generations of professionals that are in our industry, and in particular, the young professionals like yourself. So, for my last episode, I knew I wanted to bring a YP on, and I figured, so who better than my son, who decided to follow in my footsteps in petroleum engineering and into the industry. So thanks for taking the time, and I'm excited that we can make this work.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy to be here. I remember when I was going to college, I knew I wanted to do some kind of engineering, but didn't really know what flavor. So you told me just to try out petroleum, see how it goes. And after my first summer internship, I kind of knew that this was the industry for me. And now looking back on it, after working 6 years in frac across 5 different basins in the U.S., I know I made the right choice. It's been plenty challenging at times, as well as exciting working in this industry. But knowing that we're bringing energy to the world and making a difference is extremely rewarding. So anyways, speaking of all your traveling, where have you been since your last episode? Anything you want to share?
Sure. It's been a busy month. Earlier this month, I attended the Oil and Natural Gas Technology Symposium in Washington, D.C. This is another event we put on with our sister societies, both AAPG and SEG. And this one was largely run by the many that are in our national capital section in D.C. This was actually the 3rd edition of this symposium, and this year's theme was entitled Sustainable Energy for Future Generations. And it was held in the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center, so that was really cool. It's a unique event. This event really tries to bring together senior technical leaders, government policymakers. I think we had think tanks and associations to exchange best practices in sustainable energy, and then, of course, develop strategies to solve it. We started off by talking about what sustainability really meant. It was really an eye-opening session. And then we kind of worked into the evolving energy streams and, how critical our industry will be and is. And then, of course, we ended with a YP session or a panel that we discussed the future workforce. So that was a really cool way to end things. But, I thought it really hit home with my theme of creating our energy future. So the volunteer organizers, of course, did a great job, and a huge thank you to our sponsors. So as you know, as we speak, I'm in the middle of my multi-week visit to Europe. It began with a visit to Dubrovnik, Croatia, where I helped kick off the Petroleum Engineering Summer event, school event, targeting energy and geothermal, and really kind of how our industry is adjacent and how we can help move this technology forward as an important energy source. After that, I went to Paris for a couple of days. I kicked off and participated in a panel hosted by the French section entitled Generational Diversity in the Workforce. We talked not only about the importance of having generational diversity in our teams, but also just, how we need to understand the differences between the generations and appreciate everyone's perspective on the industry. Then I was off to Vienna. We met with senior leadership at OMV, who's, a very important sponsor in the region, and partner with us, including here at Europec, which is where I'm at the moment. And then I, of course, helped kick off their annual event by the Vienna Basin section, held in Bratislava, Slovakia. It's a great event. great speakers, and we even recognized a few milestone anniversaries for SP membership. One member who had 35 years of continuous membership, so that was really neat. Went over to Torino, Italy, where I'm at now. Spent a day in Milan, where we met with the Italian section. Met at Geolog's offices there. I got to hear about the events and the programming they have going on. So that was fun. It was, I don't know the last time the president had been there, so they were excited that I was able to come. And then, of course, we'll be headed to a 30th anniversary in Romania, Germany, a couple events, and UK, and then wind up in Stavanger for the board meeting. So it's been a super busy month, but I'm always excited. It's been really fun to travel around, particularly Europe, and meet with our YPs and our students and our professional members.
Yeah, well, definitely a lot of traveling. Sounds very busy, but I'm sure it's plenty rewarding and exciting meeting everybody and seeing some cool places along the way too. Just one of the cool opportunities that this industry presents to everyone who's a part of it, being able to travel and meet people and see some things along the way. But so before we dive into any questions further, could you kind of give a brief refresher on your theme you've mentioned a few times, creating our energy future, and what that means?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about this on the first episode, but I started this title was actually the title of my very first presentation to students. I think it might have been at Texas A&M. I just wanted to help them understand what it takes to be successful in the future, which is what most students and young professionals want. They want a long-term career. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about how SPE was critical to that journey. And I quickly realized after talking to Paige Wilson about this, she said, well, I think you have a theme. And so I realized as president-elect that there are really two futures at stake, our members and then, of course, of SPE. And they really go hand in hand. And if SPE can help our members create their energy future, then by definition, we'll be creating SPE's futures as well. So it's been the primary emphasis and really the primary reason, driving force, why I started these podcasts. I wanted to educate our members, not just on what we offer, but how to get the most out of their SPE membership. So each month, of course, we've discussed a different topic, a different aspect, and we've talked about how to use them and how to professionally develop yourself. So if, as a listener, if you haven't listened to all of them, or if you've missed some, I encourage you to go back, pick an episode of programming and learn about it, or maybe ask your colleagues to take a listen of how they can benefit from becoming a member, or maybe even some colleagues that aren't members to help them understand the benefits and what you can get out of it. So, I'll just close this real quickly by saying, I talk about this a lot, but thinking about your SP membership like a gym membership, the gym is for your physical well-being, SP is for your professional, and the more you put into each one of those, the more you're going to get out.
So you've shared this theme with many people across various platforms, and how do you think it's been received, both through the podcast as well as your travels?
Well, I'm probably biased, of course, but I feel like it's landed well. I've certainly been quoted many times on social media. I've, of course, been thanked in person by attendees. A lot of them say they really connected with the idea of thinking about this as important to professional development. A lot of them have said that they really felt moved by, how the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So I thought it seems like it's landed well. I've said, to have a future, you need to key on four things: engaging in lifelong learning, participation in our industry, volunteerism, and in leading. And I think for me, and I think for many members, SP is the perfect way to accomplish this. So I think that part has really resonated well with YPs, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback from students on that. I think what's been really interesting for me is that, I wasn't sure how this theme would land in various regions. But it seems to fit well everywhere I've gone and every event I've spoken with. I might have modified it a little bit and adapted it a little bit to the local culture. But, regardless of the audience or the location in the world, and by the way, this is saying something given how diverse our society is. But wherever I've been, whether it's been West Texas or Europe or the Middle East or Asia Pacific, Canada, Africa, or even down under in Australia, all seem to be passionate about their careers, They're all passionate about their professions. They're all have passion about their goals, and they recognize the importance of our industry and our profession to supply the world with affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy. So I guess time will tell how well it's gone, but at least so far, I feel like it's been landed well.
So kind of speaking on what you just mentioned there, the energy trilemma, affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, which I know you like to refer as the energy opportunity for our industry, because clearly our industry plays a critical role in the production of hydrocarbons to provide the world with both affordable and reliable energy. What challenges do you say we face in respect to meeting those two particular needs?
Well, look, first of all, your company, led by Chris Wright, is one of those in the forefront of this discussion. As you well know, Liberty Energy promotes the concept of bettering human lives, whether it be economic or energy poverty or living conditions. Humanity always wants to climb the energy ladder because it climbs the standard of living ladder. And, by doing so, their quality of life improves. And ironically, the environment typically improves after that. So as you said, the products we produce, oil and gas, they continue to lift the world out of energy poverty and are still some of the densest and most dispatchable energy forms, along with coal, only eclipsed really by nuclear. So the hydrocarbons we produce, the products that come from it, they're going to be critical to meeting the growing energy needs of all nations. And then, of course, in particular, some of the developing nations, particularly countries like China and India, as well as sub-Saharan African countries, for many decades to come, certainly past mine and your lifetime. So, once a person's energy demands are met, it typically leads to them being able to improve the environment. So as such, I think it's imperative that we as engineers continue to advance technologies to sustainably produce and recover hydrocarbons. The challenge, though, is that we must continue to engineer ways to do this. Think about, like offshore. Offshore actually produces some of the lowest carbon oil and gas. And think about how we've been pushing the envelope to drilling deeper water. We're confident there's more to be discovered. In fact, in some cases, we know there's more there, but we just need the advancements to get deeper. I mean, right now we can drill in a mile plus of water. We need to get deeper. Or we could think about unconventional reservoirs like what you work on, shale gas, shale oil. I mean, as you know, they completely changed the energy landscape in North America, and really by definition, the world, these last 20 years. I mean, the U.S. went from a net importer of oil and gas to a net exporter, and one of the largest producers of both in the world. And this technology is now being replicated in other areas like South America and China. Even the Middle East is looking at unconventional development. So the challenge for your generation and for the students that are coming in is what's next? What's going to be the next big breakthrough? And so in order to come up with these breakthroughs, the big key is we're going to need the best and the brightest coming into our industry. Of course, we're going to need the capital investment and, of course, public support. So that's our challenge.
And I'd probably say this is kind of what SPE is all about, right? Kind of working towards these technological advancements and bringing people together.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, SPE is the home for petroleum engineers and the engineers that work in our industry that help move the petroleum industry along. The scientists, professionals. Look, our mission, I've said it multiple times, is to connect our members to technology, connect our members to each other and to our external stakeholders. Of course, SPE, we facilitate this through many events, print media, multimedia, technical and regional sections. All these are the subject I've covered in my podcast. And we not only facilitate classic petroleum engineering disciplines like reservoir and drilling and completions, but also health, safety, environment, sustainability, facilities and management. Those are all facilitated. And then, of course, in addition, now we're leaning into the advancement of data science and engineering. I mean, that's something that's in all the disciplines. So we continue to find ways to leverage DS&A, E&A in all aspects of our business.
Awesome. So, we've kind of addressed the affordable and reliable legs of this energy challenge, as you like to call it. But what about there's the third leg, bringing sustainability and decarbonization into the mix? Something that I know we all, as an industry, want to push towards. And I've heard you say before, our industry is uniquely positioned to address this as well. Can you explain how?
Well, look, I think there's two parts to this. First, we need to continue to find ways to decarbonize our operations. There's a lot of ways we're working on this. They include things like reduction, particularly of our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, whether it's reducing or eliminating flaring, or reducing methane emissions, addressing orphan wells. These are just few of the many avenues our industry is working for decarbonization. We have to continue to find technologies to accomplish this. We've made tremendous progress, but I think more work can be done. Of course, there's other ways, reducing emissions from things like our drilling rigs and frac operations, whether it be through electrification or conversion from diesel to natural gas, like your company's doing, or even the deployment of renewables to some of our activities. These are just a few examples, I think, of how we can decarbonize, how we are decarbonizing and how we can ultimately reduce our carbon footprint and lead to greater sustainability. So that's the first. The second part, though, is we can use our oil and gas expertise to advance some of the adjacent decarbonization technologies. And what I mean by that is that, two that immediately come to mind are carbon capture and storage and geothermal. The subsurface, and the surface engineers in our industry, they're critical to the success of both. You may not know this, but both CCUS and geothermal have been around for decades, even centuries if you take geothermal. The Romans were doing it back in Rome, using geothermal in Roman times. So, but until now, both are really significantly underutilized compared to what they could be, and really compared to what they're going to need to be. So the expertise of our industry, our engineers, our geoscientists, we're actively addressing one of the key concerns with carbon capture and storage, and that is the permanent storage part of this and the permanent storage at scale. And so we need to work that part of it. We have to bring the costs down, and we have to understand just how to do this. And then, of course, for geothermal, I think it's just as exciting, and that's the application of our unconventional resources development. Drilling horizontal wells, and maybe particularly adding multi-stage hydraulic fracturing treatments. It's been successfully demonstrated now in the EGS scenario. In fact, I think your company's been doing a lot of work with projects like Forge and Faribault. Of course, we have many other aspects of that we are working. So, again, that's why I believe that those in our industry, like you said, are uniquely positioned to solve the energy trilemma or the energy challenge. And in fact, I like to think of it as our energy opportunity.
Yeah, so those are a bunch of great ways that the industry is leaning into this sustainability opportunity. What's SPE been doing? Is SPE been supporting this too?
Absolutely. Let me start with some statistics. I always like to lead with some data. So the 2023 SPE President, Med Kamel, he actually had the same question. He thought, let's put some metrics to this. And so he did a little research with SPE staff and just kind of took what did we do in 2023, last year, the last full year, excuse me. So in looking at the year, almost 10% of our events, our primary events, were actually focused solely on energy transition topics. But then on top of that, a majority of our events, maybe all of them, had sessions that address energy transition or sustainability topics directly. And then on top of that, there were also conferences that had energy transition topics embedded within a particular session that wasn't necessarily for that. So, I think it's important to remember that if we can start embedding this discussion into our everyday work, like we do safety, we can continue to move forward. In 2023, we continued to partner with our external stakeholders like AAPG and SEG to bring the Carbon Capture and Storage Symposium. In 2023, we actually worked on expanding it outside of Houston. We held that in Rio earlier this year after the planning in 23. Last year, of course, we also continued our partnership with Geothermal Rising to put on our annual geothermal workshop. So that's our events for 23. If you look at papers in 2023, almost 10% of the papers in One Petro that went into One Petro dealt directly with sustainability. And almost half of those were dealing with renewables themselves. And so, it's important to remember we've been addressing sustainability for decades. We've had a sustainability technical section for quite some time, and it's been an important topic. It's interesting. We did a little more research. That in 1969, there was a One Petro paper that was discussing geothermal. So we've been looking at sustainability topics for a while. Speaking of geothermal, of course, in 2023, we announced our selection for being awarded the GEODE project. This is set to kick off any day now. GEODE is a DOE, a United States Department of Energy funded project that we, along with Geothermal Rising, and of course, Project Interspace, who's the principal investigator, we'll be looking at the key goal of that GEODE project is to advance geothermal technology quickly. And by doing that, by leveraging the oil and gas industry expertise. So SPE will work together with the other entities to bring that to bear. So that's 2023. Of course, we continue to have our technical sections. I think they're one of the bright spots of new things. We're up to 23 total technical sections. Of course, we talked about this. They include carbon capture, geothermal, hydrogen, methane emissions, sustainability, and we continue to add to that. And they've really been a big success. So yeah, I think SP is leaning into sustainability, and if you want to call it energy transition, we have been doing that as well, and we continue. And again, it's why I believe we're uniquely positioned. And by the way, I just want you to remind people that this is in response to what our members are asking for. I mean, we're a member organization. Our members want this as well. Our members' companies are doing this. Our sponsors and advertisers are doing it as well. So we continue to try to meet our constituencies' needs.
Wow. Well, definitely sounds like we as an industry and SPE as well are all addressing, evolving, and kind of rising up to this energy challenge. So that's all great to hear. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit here. I was at ATCE when you took the gavel from Ed Kamal in San Antonio last year. So I heard you talk. I know you had some goals set out for your presidency. Just wanted to see how those have gone.
Well, look, I think we've already addressed one of my primary goals. And the primary goal was just really trying to help members understand how to get the most out of their membership. So that's what drove the Creating Our Energy Future. I've tried to spread the word on this with my talks and speeches. It's also what led to the topics on the podcast. And I guess, how successful that's been, I guess will remain to be seen. I'll say that again, recent membership survey that we did agrees that we have a challenge here with helping members understand the value of some of our programming. So, hopefully this is a start of doing that. And I hope that I've been helped to improve it. Let's see. I also think we've had, largely addressed regaining the financial stability post-COVID. In fact, we ended fiscal year 23 in March, actually in the black, if you combine it with our investment performance. And, at this point in time, if we stay on track with the budget expectations for fiscal year 24 and 25, I think we should be back to a 2-year net positive. So, we're only a few months into fiscal year 24, but so far we're at or slightly better than budget. Another goal was, of course, reimagining some of our flagship events. The first one we started with, of course, was ATCE. I want to encourage everybody to come to ATCE. We've got a lot of new things planned for New Orleans. And then, of course, depending on how those go, we'll continue to build off that for the future ATCE and also take it over to some of our other events. Another goal I had was to really continue to support our sections and chapters. And, don't get me wrong, I think we're doing fine here. But I hope that we can do more in the future. Perhaps maybe there's more collaboration between our SP events and programming in the local sections. I think that we can build and leverage off each other and both benefit. I've said this before, but for many, if not most members of SPE, when they think about SPE, they're thinking about our local sections. They're the face in our future. So it's important that we work together with them. And then lastly was kind of the long shot was Energy for Me. I think we have a lot of really good opportunity here with Energy for Me. It's such a great program. And I think that hopefully we can look for ways to upgrade this now in the future. I'd like to see us potentially expand it down into some younger ages to try to impact the STEM education there, as well as maybe help use it to educate some of our professionals so that then they can use this information to go out into industry, maybe in their local regions, and help promote the industry. The recent member survey, again, I mentioned it before, really highlighted the challenge we have. We don't have as high of awareness with Energy for Me, which was really very much of a surprise for me. So, I know in discussing with Simon when I began that we thought it might be very hard to do much this year. We had a lot of irons that we had in the fire. So my goal is to at least get this on the radar, which I think we've done. We've actually talked about maybe starting some discussions with us at the summer board meeting here in a couple of weeks. Now that our finances are in order, and hopefully we can, really start looking hard at this particular initiative and really continue to upgrade it, because it's a great initiative. And what's interesting is that those that do know about Energy for Me and use it have a huge positive understanding of it. So it's a very successful program.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. Well, I think we might be just about out of time here, so let's kind of bring it all together and give me some of your thoughts on the future of SPE. Well, look, every one of my presentations, if I have a PowerPoint, my last slide says our future is bright, and I think it is. I'm super excited about it. I mean, as I've gone out and talked to people, I've said this many times, but again, our professional and student members, they're passionate. They're passionate about what they do, our industry. They're passionate about SPE. And, I think passion is what's important for our future. I just met with our new board members. They are a diverse, energetic group of volunteers who are ready to roll up their sleeves and work with those of us that are on the board and really build on the work of their predecessors, who, again, I want to thank for all the work that they've done. I know it's a long 3 years, but it's been great working with them, and they've left their mark on the society. I think having the finances largely behind us is huge. And while we still need to continue to be vigilant and work hard in this arena, I think we can now start looking at diverting our attention a little bit more to looking for ways to continue to deliver valuable programming to our members, particularly, incorporating the results of the membership survey. And look, in the end, I think that if we can be successful at continuing to meet the mission of connecting our members, supporting both our core of sustainable development in oil and gas, as well as our part in the adjacent technologies and the energy evolution or energy transition, I think our members will thrive. I think our industry will thrive. I think SPE will thrive. And ultimately, I hope and think that we can create our energy future. Well, definitely sounds like you're excited about it. I'm excited and looking forward to see what the future holds for the industry as well as SPE. So what's left for you in September here?
Well, first of all, Austin, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me. And also let me say how proud I am of you and happy that you could do the final episode with me. So look, being president's been a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's clearly been a lot of work, but also it's been professional fulfilling and certainly one of the pinnacles of my career. But it's just important because I think SPE has provided me so much benefits and opportunities, and it's also benefited not just my career but also the companies I've worked for. And in the end, look, I just want others to have that same success and hopefully have that same impact from SPE. As far as September goes, of course, this is my last podcast. So next month you'll get to listen to Olivier Houzé, the incoming president, the next president, 2025. I'm not going to spoil any of his surprises. I know he's been looking at trying to carrying on some of this tradition, but I think looking at even upgrading it further. So I'm excited about that. But, travel won't stop. I've got a lot of trips still planned the rest of this year, and I've got starting to look at some things next year as well. So hopefully I'll be able to go out and meet some more members, more student members, and continue to support SPE. So since it's my last podcast, I want to just thank everybody for listening. I hope they've been helpful, and thanks for your support. And thanks again, Austin. It's been a lot of fun talking to you today.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me. It's been great to be a part of this. It's sure we will all thank you for your service so far, and look forward to the continuation of what you started. So, just thanks again for allowing me to be here.
All right, thanks, Austin.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the SPE President's Podcast, Creating Our Energy Future with Terry Palisch. New episodes are posted at the beginning of each month, complete with transcripts, on the Journal of Petroleum Technology website at jpt.spe.org.